Supply Chain Sim is brought to you by InterDynamics. In this video tutorial, we will show you the 4 methods of specifying production and consumption for products in Supply Chain Sim. The production and consumption settings are important inputs to your model, as they represent the supply and demand of your supply chain. To do this, we are going to load in the 2 farm scenarios that was provided in the download. Feel free to load in this scenario and play with the settings, pausing this video along the way. The best way to visualize the changes you make is to click on the production consumption report, which is explained in a separate video. Once loaded, we can click on the location and navigate to the production consumption settings tab. Having done this on the corn farm, we can see that the production mode has been set to continuous weekly. This setting is used to generate a continuous production rate on a weekly schedule. When using continuous weekly, the first step is to set the weekly hours of operation. This can be done by changing the production time setting to 24/7, or everyday operations, to make each day of the week the same, or daily operations to set each day's hours of production independently. You can then use this table or drag the Gantt chart to nominate the hours of operation. The next step is to set the hourly production rate and include any variations. In the rates of change on different days of the week, you can change the production rate settings from every hour to daily, which allows you to set the rate and variation for specific days of the week. In our example, we have set up a corn farm to produce 220 units every hour, plus or minus 50 units, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day, every week. Now let's take a look at the wheat farm. The wheat farm's production mode is set to continuous calendar. Like the previous farm, there is a continuous rate of production. However, in this case, we can set up the production for specific periods of time throughout the simulation. The start and end times are flexible and the rate can be set to units per hour or units per day. To add a record to the table, make the changes to the data in the row at the bottom, and then click on the Add button. Conflicts in timing with any existing records will be managed by the application and the changes highlighted. For convenience, if the last record has a period of a day or less, you can simply duplicate the record by pressing this icon and it will make a new record and add 1 day to the start and end times. Let's now look at the port. You can see the consumption mode is set to Events Random. This setting will allow us to produce periodic events of a similar consumption size and duration. In our case, we will use units to emulate a steady stream of ships loading at the port. Simply reading through the table, we will create an event every 12 hours, which is the inter-arrival time, plus or minus 3 hours, and each event will load 500 units, plus or minus 100 units. The next table allows us to define what the time of the event represents and the rate of consumption. In our case, the event time represents the start of the consumption, which will consume at a rate of 100 units per hour, plus or minus 50 units per hour. So on average, these settings will load 2 ships per day that are 500 units in size, and they will take 5 hours to load. Finally, the factory uses the consumption mode Events Calendar. The factory operates in batches that consume your product at a similar rate at specified times. In our example, we have created 5 batch runs, starting at specified times, consuming a specified number of units. The batch runs will consume product from the stockpile at the rate specified in the table. In our case, 180 units per hour, plus or minus 50 units. As you can see, some of these settings can be used interchangeably and range from simple to complex. Remember to use the production/consumption report once the production and consumption has been established to confirm the settings prior to running your simulation. That completes this tutorial on specifying production and consumption in Supply Chain Sim. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and visit our website for more tutorials and the latest updates for Supply Chain Sim.